one of the new buildings. I think they have 2 new buildings. Okay, the first building you see should be the building where they manufacture the Nintendo unit. Well, we have an appointment with Mr. Arakawa in 5 minutes, so actually we're a little bit early. Let me introduce you to Mr. Ota. This is Mr. Ota from Nintendo of America. He's probably the most important Japanese person in America next to Mr. Arakawa.
That's not true.
So, this is a sample of the way Nintendo merchandises products. This is Nintendo of America's customer support section. The first 2 rows down there answer letters and write stories for the magazines. Panning over here, we see people answering the phones, answering questions about the Nintendo machines. How many of them are there?
There are, probably right around 150 to 200 people. We're open from 4 a.m. until 10 p.m. So
4 a.m. till 10 p.m.? Oh my gosh. Okay, and scanning around here, we get into the games counselors. How many game counselors are there?
Right around 82, and the number's growing.
82, and these are people who answer questions about games and
how to play games.
Okay, so altogether on from that section down to here is all customer support.
All the way down here is all customer support.
Well, maybe in a couple of years this will be BPS. I get on a plane with a tourist visa, not knowing anybody or anything. There she is. The St. Basil. I had a video camera because I had no confidence that I would be able to describe what happened to me in Moscow. And so I was recording everything. Okay, this is the hotel from the outside, the Interest Hotel. Actually, it looks wonderful from the outside. This is my room in the Interest Hotel. Oh, look, there's even a mirror. There's a TV. This TV, I tried to plug it in last night, and sparks started coming out of the machine. This is Moscow. It looks pretty gray. That's because it's pretty gray. Well, today I'm going to go out, see what I can find out. All I have is the game with the copyright notice, and the copyright notice says Tengen to Mirosov, from Mirosov to Andromeda, from Andromeda to Elorg. I had a bitch of a time finding Elorg. I've spent about 3 hours trying to locate Elorg. Watching video of Hawaii because the TV doesn't work, the radio doesn't work. I've read everything I could read. I'm waiting for phone call from Japan. They're gonna tell me where the Moscow Book Club is, because I'm sure I won't be able to find out by asking people here. My strategy was I was going to find a Go player in the Soviet Union. So I had gotten the address of the Russian Go Association. They made some phone calls for me, set up a Go game. And so the next morning I had a chance to play Go with the 3rd strongest Go player in the Soviet Union. He was also a 6th dan, just like Mr. Yamauchi. And like my father, he was also a 6th dan. I got smart this time, and I have hired a car. The next day, we hired a limousine. Driver in the mirror. I wonder if we can. Maybe it's too dark to see. So, what's your name?
Как зовут?
My name is Victor.
Victor, I see, okay. I get back to my hotel, and in the hallway of the hotel, all of a sudden I see an interpreter. And it's like, interpreter's like, oh my gosh, of course, I should hire an interpreter.
To the left, you can't see us. It's there is one of the biggest swimming pools in Moscow.
But it's not a swimming pool now, I'll bet. It's a skating rink or something?
No, it's swimming pool. It's open all the year round.
And people swim there now?
Yes.
Wow. So I have a very lovely interpreter. And her name is...
My name is Allah.
Your name is Allah. And so I said to Allah, can you help me find a lorg? And she looked at it and said, oh yeah, I know where a lorg is. She knew that right away. And I said, that made me suspicious. It's like she already knew what I was looking for. In other words, the word had gotten around, this guy snooping around for a lorg, which I'm not supposed to be doing that. I'm not supposed to be meeting any Russians. I'm only supposed to be there taking pictures of tourist attractions. That's it. Really something. First, we went to the Go Club. The place where people play Go is inside of this big building where the Olympic Committee was. Whoa! What's this? Olympiada? Olympiski. It's where they have the chess club. They take their sports very seriously. We're going right into it. I'm impressed. I am impressed. I won that game. Problem with the Go player is he didn't speak a word of English. So he was absolutely useless. I couldn't get anything out of him, but I had the interpreters, it's fine. So then we went to a lorg. Okay, we're on the street here, where we just passed by the American Embassy. And that building there is a lorg. And I remember going up to the door of a lorg. This interpreter, she goes, no, you can't go in there. And I said, what do you mean I can't go in there? I said, you're here on a tourist visa. It's like, how do you even know that, And I said, I didn't come all this way to stand in front of a door and then go back to Japan and get a visa so that I can go through this door. I'm going through this door. Are you coming with me? And she said, no, I can't go with you. I said, okay, I'm going in. You wait here. So I just stood there in the lobby waiting for somebody to talk to me. Mr. Belikov comes down the stairs and I had my game. I said, I'm the publisher of this game in Japan, Tetris, and I'm looking for the rights to Tetris for handheld. And he looks at it and he says, what machine is this for? And I said, it's for Nintendo. It's a console. And he says, we never licensed Tetris for console to anyone. I'm like, holy crap. If somebody else picked up those rights, they could stop me from publishing and my in-laws would lose all of their land. So I was in some seriously deep kimchi at that moment. I decided, you know what? I'm going to focus on the mission that I'm here and I'll deal with this later. So I said, I would like to come back tomorrow and I'm here for the handheld rights. The reason I said the next day is because I wanted to make sure that they could get the right people in the room. So he said, okay, come back tomorrow. I'll meet you at 1 o'clock, blah, blah, blah. That was my official invitation right there. The next day I went back. I get escorted into this room. On one end of the long table, there are 8 people, something like that, sitting on the other side. I'm sitting by myself on this side. And we're about to start the 3rd degree. And all these guys are suspicious. Like, who the hell are you? How did you, because I came out of nowhere. I wasn't supposed to be there.
You looked really suspicious from Japan with perfect English. I mean, something really wrong.
Yeah, so I'm a Dutchman living in Japan who talks like an American. And by the way, my English is very simple English because I've been living in Japan for many years and I know how to speak English as a second language. So all these people are able to understand me. Anyway, there's like a lot of negative vibes coming from the other side of the table. And
I could see his demeanor change as the conversation went on, when he realized that I was a game designer. As I was explaining what my involvement was, I could see him visibly warm up. And I mean, the others, a couple of guys in there, I don't know, the KGB or whatever they, you know.
Well, they are all, frankly, KGB, but they are not kind of field agents, so per se. Mostly they sell weapons, I believe, to the other country. They have specialty in making contracts and follow the money. And
I can tell you this: nobody on the other side of the table, except Alexey, knew anything about computer games.
Oh, about computer games, no, but about the international trade, they probably...
They knew something. Well, if they did, they got totally spanked by Stein in that contract.
I don't think Robert Stein, he intended to misrepresent anything. You know, he was like a sole entrepreneur who's out there trying to make a buck by licensing products.
Stein shows up, which I knew he was going to be there. I just didn't know where or how. But what I didn't know was Kevin Maxwell also showed up.
They never meet each other. But Kevin Maxwell, Stein, and Henk was at the same time in Ilorg. So I met them all.
So now there were 3 people in Moscow at the same time trying to get the Game Boy rights.
We were supposed to have all rights, not just PC and Mac, but it kind of came out that I'm not sure Stein had all the rights that he needed with this Elorg programmer.
We found out that Stein started selling the other platform, which we never considered him to have. We were furious when we heard about this.
The deal that had been made was between Elorg and Robert Stein, which is Andromeda, for the computer. By the time this deal gets to Microsoft, they read the contract that says, the computer. Oh, that's everything. We got everything.
Up until that point, I thought we had all the rights, right? Because Stein represented that as such.
Stein had licensed arcade rights to Tengen, because they were an arcade company, and to Sega. And he didn't have those rights. And so the Russians say, yeah, you need to clean that up before we even talk to you about anything else.
He came and started crying and saying that he can't afford anything without this platform and that. We say, no, we don't want to even discuss it with you.
They came to me and they say, Stein is here. He's looking to figure out the arcade rights. What should we do? Rather than asking for a per unit or something complicated that you can't check, ask him for a big upfront money. And so that is the deal that actually ended up happening between Stein. That's how Tengen and Sega got the arcade rights.
I don't think Stein was being evil. I just don't think the communications, the faxing back and forth, the definition of what a computer and a console, all that was kind of blurred at that particular time. Maybe he overrepresented what he had, but he wasn't a lawyer. You know, he wasn't a contracts guy. He was trying to do his best to do one of his short deals, but, you know, he didn't have a big name Silicon Valley law firm behind him.
Stein wasn't publisher, he was an agent. All he's do is sub-license.
So Robert Stein came to Moscow and said, look, we're publishing this. You can either cooperate or you can try and sue Microsoft or whatever. And that's, of course, an impossible thing. There's no way that the Russian government is going to sue somebody outside the Soviet Union over intellectual property.
All this is brewing in one big stew. You had the Soviets and the Russians. You had the murkiness of the contract and the technical meanings of what was licensed and what wasn't licensed. You had Henk in Russia. You had Microsoft through Robert Maxwell, who was bigger-than-life character, kind of the Rupert Murdoch competitor of his era, who had strong relationships with the Kremlin. So he was trying to call in over the top, right, by engaging very senior levels of government to force the license to fall in favor of Atari and Microsoft.
Nobody on the other side of the table had any idea how big the game business was. They were taking the Russians to the cleaners. They were getting a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. Just imagine this. Spectrum Holobyte has a quarter where they sell $100,000 worth and they pay $20,000 to Microsoft. That becomes income on the second quarter, $20,000. And from that $20,000, they pay Stein 20%, which is $4,000 in the next quarter. And then Stein reports that in the fourth quarter. So by the time the fourth quarter comes around, it's 20% of $4,000 at $800, out of this huge chain of money. So I said, look, the way I'm going to do this deal is you guys should not care how many sub-licensees. You are going to get a fixed amount of money from each unit that is sold. So I will pay you 25 cents per unit for Game Boy. No matter who sells it in the world, you will get 25 cents.
My dad was an honest guy. He could really say, I'm not the richest guy, but I will show you exactly how much money I'm making. Here's an honest deal. Whereas before, they weren't getting an honest deal, obviously.
They asked me, so how many copies do you think you're going to sell? And I was thinking, if we're talking about packing it in with Game Boy, maybe 30 million copies.
No, come on, you was very moderate with your expectations.
Okay,
10
all right.
million, maybe 5 million, 10 million.
Oh, okay, say it's 10 million. 10 million times a quarter, that's $2.5 million. That is significantly more than they were ever going to make with all the deals that they had done up to the...
Totally other area, of revenue.
They asked me, when are you coming back to Moscow? And I said, what do you mean? He says, well, we need time to think this over. And I said, I either leave Moscow with the rights to handheld Tetris, or I don't. I leave without it. I'm not coming back. We don't have that kind of time. I made this very official thing, boom, and this, you have 1 week to answer me with...
Letter of intent or something.
Yeah, with a proposal, and after that, this offer is null and void. I mean,
The console versions were never quite as good as the Game Boy version.
I think Game Boy Tetris for me was like the game that I played the most. I think it was such a game changer, right? Because we're already playing the Famicom, like NES type games at home, but then now you can take that everywhere. I remember like going to Disneyland or going on trips, and we would have the Game Boy, we would link it up and play together.
Game Boy looks for me like a device for Tetris, by default. With the small screen, with the good resolution. Buttons work well, music was excellent. I did play Mario on it, but Tetris is much better on the Game Boy, at least for my opinion.
People think the Game Boy version was probably the perfect game.
And I do remember that once it was a Tetris competition and some schoolboy came to me to sign the cartridge. I signed and he is glued into the Game Boy. I was very impressed with this. So for me, Tetris is really literally glued in the Game Boy. So if you remember Game Boy, you can't forget Tetris. Historically, they are together.
the heart level, if you push the certain combination when you're booting up the game, it goes to the heart levels. And the heart levels are way faster than any other level. It's so fast that if your piece drops, you cannot reach the side higher than 4 off the bottom. So that's how fast it's going. So if you want to do a Tetris, you need to make the hole in the middle and hope that the long piece comes.
Oh, shoot.
I saw so many versions on home computers and other devices, so for me as a designer, it wasn't anything really exceptional. But it was a really decent, very good version. Probably that was the best version if to not take in account my own computer version, which was much better for me, of course, you know, because I made it. Yeah.
So about the story goes back to 2001. I was in Sega. When I finished making Reds, I wanted to try the concept of the synesthesia experience, but the puzzle game. So soon after I left Sega, I went to Henk for advice. You know, I'm thinking the concept, new game design concept, like Tetris meets Reds. Henk's reaction was, "Oh, that's fantastic idea." So, but that was a licensing issue. He was like, "We should work together in the future." So we decided to make the new game at the launch title for PSP. So that was really nice. When I founded Enhance in 2014, I met Hank again. What if, like that? What if the new Tetris coming? What kind of Tetris? What kind of future Tetris? Like that. He spoke to me very passionately, passionately about the Tetris players' zone states in a Zen feeling. And he said to me, Gucci, you could do it. I couldn't you? He said. Then I traveled to Hawaii many times with Ishihara, who became the director and art director of the project. And we, two of us, created a game concept together. And much of the inspiration of the Tetris effect came from our stay in the island of Hawaii. When I think about the idea of Tetris effects, my past experience, like I love to watch Tetris in arcade. I love to watch and I love to feel that kind of atmosphere. If the people watching this game around, how can we move them? The player wants to focus the game, watching just blocks, but the people in the gallery, people watching the people can watch temptations like the fish transformed to Mantley. And Big Well. After that, you can watch Earth in a space. Yeah, that kind of design. First person and third person. Yeah, from the beginning of the project, we tried to find some of the new feature elements, like, to boost the zone feel. Zone mode, that was really tough to create. And we had many tests and experiments, but we couldn't have the big confidence, this is it. And we decided to extend development, 3 months. We promised with Hank. So Hank told me, please make a new Tetris game using and boosting that kind of a zone feel. In our mind, we all the time, how can we make it a Zen feeling? What is Zen? It's like that kind of experience, we dive into the pool and the ocean, like suddenly like a boom. The time stopped and the sound disappeared. So no place, no time. Then how many lines you can make? That was very successful. And finally we could find, this is it. That was an amazing process of the production. So that was a very good thing to make, Tetris, using Tetris and making the new thing. That was a very fantastic project to me.